So, greetings. This is William representing Peachtree Property Management, where we invest in fixing whole rental properties located in B, C, and D class communities. Today's podcast, I'm making. I haven't made one in a while, but I'm gonna title it called "Feeding the Beast." I have some notes. So I'm gonna be looking back and forth from my notes, back and forth to the camera. I want for the ones that don't know, for the ones that are here for the first time, I stumbled across the this podcast for the first time, or I'm also putting on WAG Realty LLC on YouTube. This whole thing was created to help motivate people to get into real estate, and the ones that got out of real estate to hopefully encourage them to get back into it to help battle gentrification. Not saying gentrification is totally bad, but the fact of the matter, just trying to make things more affordable for our fellow man, our fellow neighbors. Um, so I want to thank all my subs. I want to thank. I ran into a guy at Walmart, and he talked to him. And he asked to follow me, so hopefully he is following me, and just hopefully this page or this podcast and the YouTube channel can continue to grow. Uh, so also something I want to start doing also is selling shirts. So if you want to get a shirt, you want to help out, just contact me on WAG Realty LLC on Facebook. You can contact me at Peachtree Property Management on Instagram. I also have a TikTok now. You can reach me at WAG Realty LLC. Um, you can reach me on many different platforms and podcasts, Real Estate for Beginners, but you should be able to reach me on Casterbox, possibly if it's still around Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. Some Another thing I want to add on to is mention is I want to start taking or accepting and talking to different sponsors. I shouldn't say sponsors because I don't want to seem like I'm gonna be influenced by someone, but donors for the podcast. So if you are interested in donating to the podcast, to the my company for YouTube or social media, want to help out, want to invest, whatever it may be, just reach out to me. Um, I appreciate everyone in advance. And so I'm gonna start this podcast off by just talking about a lot of people feel like their time and opportunity to get into real estate they missed. You think about what's going on now with the president, whether good or bad. There's a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that are being let go from their jobs for various reasons. And so their housing market, I think the houses on average have dropped about 125,000 so far. Um, so $125,000 on average. I don't know if it's sale. I can't remember. It's a couple of days since I wrote this down, but sale price or listing price. So $125,000 lower. Also, things are going to change whether you believe in climate change or not. There's a lot of mudslides, fires happening. Floods and things like that, hurricanes. So a lot more homes are not going to be insurable. A lot more areas are going to cost more to build in. So then it's going to drive the prices. You can drive them up, you can drive them down. But right now, it looks like it's possibly going to drive them down until more people start probably buying back into the market. So if you have given up in the past on purchasing real estate, or you thought maybe your rental portfolio can't grow, just be patient. Time change, things change. So I'm not saying things are going to be like it was during 2007 and 2012, or in the 90s, or whatever it may be, all the way to we had different recessions almost every 10 years, 15 years, something like that. But it could be another time for things to try to equalize, try to stabilize. And while things are stabilizing, right now it's gone up, but they usually typically come down before they eventually, creep up and stay up. And so it may be a time that you can get into the market. So I want to talk about basically people looking at smaller or single family homes for their, I guess you could say, fire or retirement. So fire is just a way that people they quit their jobs and they rely on whatever source of income that they're getting from what was probably once a hobby or a side job or a hustle, and it turned full time and allowed them to retire. So single family homes, that they're not easy to do. So the money needs to be saved up. a saving account, a checking account, whatever it may be, however you want to save it, and it needs to be put back into the rental properties. You want to make sure you're maintaining them. You might want to make sure that you keep the quality tenants. So first, find quality tenants. Um, and people look at single family homes as a source of retirement, but they possibly should be looked at as supplemental income for when you do retire. Now, some people, you hear these success stories where they're able to retire and they become multimillionaires or whatever it may be. That does happen, but for most people, it doesn't. Just being realistic. So you always have your plan A, plan B. So if you're looking at possibly needing $10,000, you want to buy a different car, you want to go on say go on vacation, you should possibly look into um, doubling that price. All right. So doubling that price, making it 20,000, feeding I would say at least 10 to 15,000. I would say at least 10,000. That's the bare minimum. Into the property to maintain it just in case things happen in the future, and maybe not taking vacations that often. Instead of taking a vacation once or twice a year, maybe it's every other year, or take smaller vacations, vacations, staycations, whatever you want to call it. Let me see. So, because you got to think about things like a HVAC. HVAC, if it goes out, that's $6,000 to $8,000 typically. Unless you can find, I know people may know somebody that knows somebody. Um, so it may not cost them that much. Or some people are handy; they know some things. It may not cost, but on average, it can be $6,000 to $8,000. And so, if you went on vacation, it costs $10,000. Then, you're going to be hurting, and then you got to pull credit. So then you got to pay that back. High interest rates, way things are going now. Um, and when you can, I wouldn't say necessarily if you can use credit, it's a such thing as good credit and bad credit. But if you're trying to lean away from using credit, then you can use some of your cash and build it back up as time goes on. Um, so having that, probably possibly every scenario will be a little different, but it says go on vacation every 2 to 3 years. You don't want to buy. Oh, another thing, not buying cars that max out your budget. Not buying, not even just cars, but anything that maxes out your budget. You want to somewhat stay away from that. So, sometimes if you can buy a home or fix up a home with credit or with a loan, that's great. And you're stacking up your money. But again, you don't want to go out and just, oh, I made $30,000 this year. I'm gonna go spend 27,000 of it. Blah blah blah. You want to make sure you're constantly feeding the beast. Things are going to happen. Windows are going to break, whether the tenant breaks them or not. And people can say, "Oh, security deposit will pay for that." They're naive. Um, so I mean, things happen. All right, flooding the place happens. Um, you know, when I say flood, I'm talking about like what do you call that? Pipes bursting. I had a property now. I guess every year it increases 1%. So now, as far as like flooding, so now it looks like it's a stream in the backyard and it's coming up. So I have a city, or I have the home is in the city that they constantly, if someone moves out, you got to get the home re-inspected, go through some things. And so they saw that maybe possibly if I did too many changes in between the tenants moving in, that I would have to pull a survey and like a flood FEMA specialist, and that would easily cost $4,000 to $6,000. All right, so having money for the side for that, to pay for that, if you would have spent on vacations, on a car, things like that, then you locked down, you tied up, you got a house that you put a lot of money into, and it's just sitting, not making any money. Um, so if you think you need about 40,000 to retire, you probably, from the things I've heard from the people I've talked to and the situation I've seen, you probably need to um double that. I guess you could say 80,000, maybe what you need to possibly retire, because you gotta realize if you have a job and you have rentals and and it makes you 40,000, say your job makes you 40,000, that's $80,000, and so your rentals start going up to they the same amount as what you make for income. But then you got to realize, well, if something breaks, a house is sitting for a few extra months, you're not getting the income. Uh, and it also depends on how your insurance is. Your insurance, if people move out, the house is just sitting there. Sometimes your insurance may pay for vacancies if something happens, but it still may have to sit for a couple weeks or a couple months before they pay out. And so, can you afford that? That's just something you got to think about. Um, Another thing you can do for with single family homes is use it for equity. So you want to maintain the property. Hopefully, people around you maintain their property. But as far as with equity, taking out a loan, you can help pay for your kids to go to college. Um, and it won't hurt you with money. You still get that same money, pay down the loan a little bit, or whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily you're going to be making $1,200 a month from this rental. You may realistically probably make decently five to 600. That's probably on the extreme, but some people are making that. You don't want to make less than $200 a month. But say you making that 5 to 6 to 700 $800 a month on that rental. That'll help hopefully pay for that loan. Possibly, especially if you're constantly maintaining the property and you're getting quality tenants in there, and so you can go probably 4 or 5 years, 6 years without a major repair. And one thing you want to also do is make sure you're getting not necessarily inspections, but what do you call those? Where you have people just come out and just look over your plumbing yearly. Come out by yearly, or how you want to say it. Have your HVAC at least looked at 2 times a year. So when it changed from cold to summer, winter to summer, some people say 4 times a year, but you don't have to do it that much. You can find somebody that can look at it 2 times a year. They may charge $75 to 150 to come out, and that can possibly save you a little bit headache, and find somebody that you trust. Um, so if you don't feed the beast, I have in my notes, then your property is going to suffer. Your small business is going to suffer. All right. Um, and I said you can charge below market rents. You don't want to be too cheap, um, because you have taxes, insurance, material costs, labor costs. All those things have gone up. People have to realize it. The tenants have to realize it. A lot of things have gone up besides pay, and I understand that. But if these tenants complain that their landlord can't fix anything, that's because your landlord is charging $400, $350. That I know. Like I say, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but a lady that was a neighbor to one of the properties, rental properties I have, she had stayed in there for 12 years, and she was paying $400 a month, 3 beds, a guest room, and 2 bathrooms, and she was just paying 400. She moved, rent has gone up, but they just wanted to be closer to her husband's job. So it's just something to think of. Like your landlord won't be able to fix things. I'm just gonna be honest with you. He won't be able to fix things if all he's charging is $400. Taxes goes up. He may own the house free and clear. Something happens, even something small, a plumber or whoever, even somebody that has to redo some drywall or paint could charge $1,000, and 1 to 2 years of rent is already gone. All right, just for repainting or floor messes up, because like I say, the lady's been there 12 years, wants a new floor. Uh, new floor that can be anywhere, depends on what room or if it's half the house, but say $800 to 2,000, could be more. It just depends. All right. And so then you got several years already gone, especially if you've been the type of person that, you were using that whole 400 for something else. So like I said, you want to make sure you don't have to charge market. You can charge below market rent. You don't have to charge market rent, but you don't want to be too low. You want to make sure that you're having someone go out or constantly calling the tenants. Some of the tenants are gonna not want to bother you, or not even realize things, but you want to have somebody that can go through the properties. If you can't do it, make sure they're being maintained. Um, and just like I say, just feed the beast, because if you don't feed the beast, then it's because you got to look at it like this income is not necessarily, it is yours. You got to look at it like you're a manager. So say if it's making $600, you can take 150 for yourself, maybe, just to give an example, and you can keep, but the rest goes to the real breadwinner. It goes to the rental property. That rental property is what's making the money. So that money is the rental property's money, but you are allowed to use it as need be. All right. Especially if you are a sole proprietor, or even if you have a LLC and you are basically the LLC, you can kind of do what you want, but you want to make sure that you're doing enough to be able to keep growing your business, and keep and maintain your business. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening. Again, the podcast is called Real Estate for Beginners. I'm gonna try to do it more frequently. You can follow me on YouTube, WAG Realty, WAG Realty LLC of North Carolina. TikTok is at WAG Realty, and then Instagram is at Peachtree Property Management. And like I say, if you want to reach out to be a donor for T-shirts or shirts, or however, whatever it may be, just let me know. I appreciate everybody. Until next time, y'all take care.